So what I thought to do today is just take out the two sadhanas that we're going to be working with. Okay, the Chenrezig sadhana, and then the inseparability of the spiritual master and Avalokiteshvara, which Rinpoche gave us the oral transmission and the teaching on this morning. And just to point out some salient features of both, and how they're actually very similar, because from doing this you'll see a very common structure that you will find in almost every sadhana or text for a deity practice that we do. Okay, and there's a reason for all of that. Yesterday, when Rinpoche was giving the teaching on the thousand-arm Chenrezig practice, he mentioned at the beginning to do a prayer to the lineage lamas. There isn't one in here, but in the Nune text. Some of you may want to come back in November when we do the Nune practice. I forget the dates, but you can check on our 15 to 18. So when Rinpoche was describing yesterday the lineage of the Chenrezig practice, the lineage holder was a nun. Yeah, Bhikshuni Lakshmi, or in Tibetan, Gelong Mapalmo. And so she was healed from leprosy through doing this practice with Avalokiteshvara. So the prayer to the lineage lamas begins with Avalokiteshvara and then goes to her and then continues on down. And it's a very special Chenrezig practice. We do a regular Chenrezig practice every day, many of us, but the Nune, the sadhana is a bit longer, and you take the 8 Mahayana precepts for 2 days. Okay, and so the first day you have you drink beverages, and then you have one meal. And then the second day, you do not eat or drink or speak. Okay? So, and meanwhile, both days you're doing 3 meditation sessions of the Nune sadhana. Nune means abiding in the fast. And you might think, oh, this means fasting from food, but it actually means fasting from ignorance, anger, and attachment. That's what we really are abstaining from. But it's a very beautiful practice. You do a lot of purification and prostration during this. And, because you can't eat or drink or talk on the second day, you have only Chenrezig to turn to. That's the only thing. It's only your refuge. That's it. Yeah, so it really deepens your refuge in the 3 jewels, and quite a beautiful practice. And then on the morning of the 3rd day, we break the fast together. Okay, and it's funny because usually during it, you keep thinking, oh, I can't wait for the 3rd day morning. I can't wait for the 3rd. I'm so hungry. I'm so thirsty. I can't wait to eat. I feel so weak. I feel so exhausted. Where's the food? And then when you finally, take a sip of water and have a cup of tea, you kind of go, well, so what? It's like you thought that you would just sit there and, pile stuff in. And it's like, okay, 1 cup of tea, good enough. I feel fine. 1 thing of oatmeal, good enough. Yeah. And it's quite interesting, what our mind does, and then what we actually need and how we actually respond. There's sometimes a big shift between those things. Okay, so looking at these 2 sadhanas. Okay, the inseparability one has an introduction, the introductory paragraph. That's written by His Holiness when he compiled it, but we usually don't recite it. It's just there as an homage and a promise to compose. Okay, then the inseparability starts right in with refuge, assuming that you know the visualization for taking refuge. Okay? So actually, in it, you visualize Chenrezig in front, surrounded by all the lineage teachers, all the Buddhas, all the Bodhisattvas, and everybody. And that's when you take refuge, what you imagine in the space in front. In the regular thousand-arm Chenrezig practice, we just imagine Chenrezig right on the top of our head. Zopa Rinpoche simplified this practice a little bit. But the point is that before you take refuge and generate bodhicitta, you visualize the holy beings. So we don't just start with the refuge and bodhicitta, saying it to empty space. There's a visualization in place there. Okay? And when we visualize, it's important to understand that we're not trying to see something with our eyes, but rather we're just imagining it in our mind's eye. And we do a lot of visualizing anyway. If I say, think of the place where you live, do you have an image in your head of what the kitchen looks like, and the living room, and what your bedroom is, and what the floor plan is? You do, don't you? Okay, so that's visualization. So here we're just visualizing Chenrezig. It's the same thing. It's like if I say, think of your mother or your father, your husband, your wife, your child, whoever it is. You have a clear image of that person in your head, but that person's not here, but you have a clear image, and when you have that image in your mind, you really feel something towards that person. So in the same way, we visualize Chenrezig, and it's a process of really cultivating our relationship with Chenrezig. Meditation comes from the verbal root to familiarize or habituate. So we're cultivating a relationship. Okay, so there it starts, in the Red Book it starts with the visualization for refuge. In the yellow pages, yellow pages, okay. It's assuming that you know it, okay? But then you'll see that both of them go into, right away, taking refuge and the four immeasurables, okay? So we take refuge to know what spiritual practice we're doing, that we're Buddhists, we're following the spiritual guidance of the Buddha. And why are we practicing it? Because we want to become fully enlightened Buddhas. Okay? So it sets our direction and also our motivation. So all of our practices start out like that, and it's extremely important if we're doing a spiritual practice that we know, whose guidance are we following and why are we doing it. Okay? So if somebody comes up to you and says, why are you practicing Buddhism? What do you want to get out of it? You know how people do that. Hey, what do you want to get out of it? You're sitting there watching your belly button all the time. What do you think you're going to get out of it? Well, what are you going to say?
Happiness. So we're trying to learn how to be wise and compassionate so that we can live happy.
Okay. We just want to be wise and compassionate, that's all? There's a lot of wise and compassionate people. Yeah, we want to become Buddhists and attain, non-abiding nirvana. There's a difference between having love and compassion and having bodhicitta. Yeah, many people have love and compassion, including, the hearers and solitary realizers, non-Buddhists. Okay? Having bodhicitta, the aspiration to attain full awakening in order to best benefit others, is something exclusive to Buddhism. And within Buddhism, only for those practicing the Bodhisattva path. Okay? Yeah, so don't confuse just being a nice person with being a bodhisattva.
Well, that was the wise part.
Okay. So, so the Refuge Prayer is actually the same. It's just different translations. Yeah. The same with the Four Immeasurables in the yellow one. It's the short version, which is a slightly different translation than the one we we usually use. In the red book, it's the long version. Okay. Okay, the order is a little bit different. In the long version, you meditate on equanimity first, then love, compassion, and joy. In the short version, it's love, compassion, joy, and equanimity at the end. Okay, so also in the long version, what's in the short version, you should know the long version so you can generate those feelings even though the words aren't there. But in the long version, you're saying not only how wonderful it would be, for example, the first one, if all sentient beings were to abide in equanimity free of bias, attachment, and anger. It's not only just how wonderful it would be, it's a may they abide in this way. So that's a little bit stronger. How wonderful is, wouldn't that be good? And may they abide in this way is like more forceful. I want that to happen. And then I shall cause them to abide in this way. In other words, I'm going to get involved in this process. I'm not just sitting here, may everybody be happy. It's like, I'm going to do something. I've got to do something. I can't just sit here. It's not going to happen without me doing something. Okay. And then I shall cause them to abide in this way. And then we request Guru Deity, Guru Chenrezig, please inspire me to be able to do so. So I want to help sentient beings, in this case, the first one, to abide in equanimity. But I need some inspiration. I need some support. I need some backing. So we're requesting, our spiritual mentors seen as Chenrezig for that inspiration and support. Okay? And we're making a commitment to do something about this. I was just watching, I don't know how many of you get the emails from mayors against illegal guns. Are any of you on that list? A few of you. I really recommend it. It's quite moving. And so they had this bus going around the U.S. on a trip called No More Names, because they stopped at a number of cities in the U.S. and read out the names and dates and places where various people were killed by guns. And they had lists of thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who have been killed by guns. And that's not only killed by, think of all the people who've been injured by guns who haven't died, but their lives are irrevocably changed by being injured. And you see in, when they send out their videos of what they're doing, that the people involved have gone from, how wonderful it would be if nobody got killed with guns, to may nobody get killed by guns, to, I shall cause them not to get killed by guns, and getting really involved. And you have these people who probably never cared at all until one of their relatives or friends got killed. And then all of a sudden, people old and young kind of wake up and go, I need to do something. And so in spite of what our wonderful politicians are doing in D.C., these people are, really committed to trying to help. Yeah? So that's the same kind of commitment we want to have. We want to have even more commitment than that, because they're committed to one really compassionate endeavor, and we're committing ourselves to every compassionate endeavor, and we're committing ourselves for not only this life but all future lives. Okay, so we're really jumping in and not looking back. And when we took the Bodhisattva vows this morning, and I mean that was so auspicious of Rinpoche to give them. This is really our first activity in there, and to give the Bodhisattva vows was really something. I mean, when you take the Bodhisattva vow, you are going forward and you don't look back. Yeah, you make it very strong in your mind that I am never looking back. Yeah, I am going forward to enlightenment. I am going forward to work for the benefit of sentient beings. And I'm never going to look back and say, did I do the right thing? Was it too hard? You're saying, no, I'm not doubting that. I am going forward because I examined in a moment of clarity that this was the best thing to do and the best way to do it, and I'm going there, and that's it. Yeah? And this person can criticize me, and that person can do this, and none of that matters because I know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Yeah? And then, your mind becomes so clear and calm, and you don't, people come, they say this, they say that, you don't get so bent out of shape about it. Okay? So, we see refuge, generating bodhicitta, 4 immeasurables. Okay, in the Red Book they add the special altruistic intention. That's just to make everything, and reinforce your bodhicitta. Okay, then in the Yellow they set the stage, so you purify the environment. Yeah, so. This is also something that's assumed in the regular Chenrezig sadhana in the Red Book, is that you do this thing of purifying the environment. So actually, in the way of taking refuge, the full way of taking refuge in the Yellow Book, after the 4 immeasurables, then you imagine that the whole refuge visualization, Chenrezig and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, or all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas dissolve into Chenrezig, Chenrezig dissolves into you, okay? And so that then you think, you've really received the blessings and the inspiration of the objects of refuge, okay? So then you start purifying the environment, because now you're going to, do your main visualization. In the Yellow Book, it's of the spiritual master. So, actually, these 2 verses at the beginning, may the surface of the earth in every direction be stainless and pure. That's from Shantideva's text, Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life. By the way, this morning when he gave the Bodhisattva vow, he was using Shantideva's text. Okay, that was the one. It's also the one, for those of you who do succession guru yoga, it was also that prayer. Okay? So we imagine the environment pure, we imagine beautiful offerings all around, and then we say that mantra that blesses and inspires the offerings and makes them huge and innumerable and very pure. So, for example, if you were doing that, then, instead of stones and dirt here, you would have speckled, you would have gold dust on the ground and jeweled ground, and you just imagine it like that and transform it. Yeah, you make everything very beautiful. You have a beautiful building, and the pipes never break, and the doors never slam, and the carpet never gets ruined, and and it's finished on time, and it spontaneously appears. You want to go to a Pure Land, don't you? Let's go to the Pure Land and have spontaneously appearing, divine mandalas that are a reflection of our own wisdom mind, where you don't have to sign a contract and go shopping for hardware and, all this kind of stuff. Okay. Yeah. So we do all that part, and where it says purification, that's setting the ambience. Okay. It's like, if you're going to invite somebody to your home, you clean your house first. Usually, don't you? Yeah. You don't want to invite guests to a dirty home. So here, when we're imagining purifying the ambience, what we're really purifying is our mind. Yeah, because it's our mind that sees ordinary, trashy environments, and it's our mind that sees pure environments. Yeah, so by imagining a pure environment, we're creating the cause to be born in one. But even now, you can really see the difference between people's minds by what they notice in the environment. Yeah? Somebody could come up here and, and they notice, okay, right near the concrete slab, there's some water gathered because they didn't, level the ground. and there's all these weeds growing up by, the side, and they haven't put the front door on yet, and the inside, door frame looks, that area looks pretty kind of junky, and that's what they see. And another person could walk by the same place and go, oh my goodness, look at this building. It's fantastic. And they poured this concrete and it has these nice little streaks in it. It's kind of cool. And the edge of the concrete's really, clear. You'd have two people walk past the same thing and they see two different things according to their mind and what's going on in their mind. Yeah. So in the same way, when we meet people, we can see two different things when we meet people. Yeah? Two different people meet the same person and have totally different opinions because they notice totally different things. And our problem is that we think that what we perceive is, first of all, objective reality, and also the only thing that's out there. If somebody else notices something else in the environment, like if somebody else walked out in front there, and we're the one looking at, there's the water and the land's uneven and there's all the weeds, and somebody else says, I was here a year ago and wow, look at this building, it wasn't here and it's really kind of cool, and it says Chenrezig. If you're only looking at the weeds and the water puddle, you're going to go, what are you talking about? None of that stuff is there. You're not even seeing it correctly. Actually what they're seeing is there, but we're just so focused, on our spilled concrete and water puddles and weeds that we can't see anything else. Okay, so it's interesting to consider when people have different opinions and ideas than we do, that maybe we're just noticing different things. And that it's not right and wrong, and that, maybe we need to expand our mind to include everything in the situation. Yeah. I mean, it's helpful to know that there's weeds and water puddles. If you don't see the water puddle, you're going to step in it. Okay, that doesn't mean you have to get mad about the water puddle. Yeah. But you also need to see the building and what's there. Okay, so the whole thing. Okay. Then in the yellow one, it goes through the whole visualization of the spiritual mentor. So this is very much like in Lama Chopa. In Lama Chopa, where we visualize there, Jay Rinpoche is the central figure. At his heart is Shakyamuni as the wisdom being, and at his heart is as the concentration being is Vajradhara. Here in the yellow one, His Holiness is the Lama, is the commitment being. Chenrezig at his heart is the wisdom being, and the letter Hri at his heart is the concentration being. In the Red Book, it doesn't go into that much detail when we visualize Chenrezig. Okay, it does say that there's a Hri at the heart, and the mantra letters are there, so that's pretty similar. But this one here of Guru Yoga, I mean, both practices are of Guru Yoga, but the one in the yellow is much more obviously Guru Yoga because we're imagining His Holiness as the Guru. Okay? And the basic idea is to think of His Holiness's mind and Chenrezig's mind as completely the same in terms of their realizations, so not seeing a difference in nature between His Holiness and Chenrezig. Okay. And in the red book, to make it into a practice of Guru Yoga, then you think when you visualize Chenrezig that the Lama who gave you the Chenrezig initiation, that person's mind and Chenrezig are the same in nature. And in fact, it's not, you don't just think, oh, you think primarily of the teacher who gave you the initiation, but they also say think of all of your tantric teachers in that way, okay, as having the nature of the deity. Okay, and Rinpoche explained that whether they really are Buddhas or Bodhisattvas, it doesn't really matter. That this is actually a practice that's done that benefits us. Okay, it's a little bit difficult to understand, and sometimes Westerners get quite confused about it because they see a teacher and they go, oh, I'm supposed to see that teacher as the Buddha and the same nature of the Buddha, and that means that they know everything. So I don't need to tell them anything because they're already omniscient, and they should know everything. And then you go through expecting your teacher to know everything, and you don't tell them anything. And then you wonder why there's communication breakdown. Okay? Or you say, oh, my teacher's the Buddha. Well, then why are they getting sick? If they're Buddha, they shouldn't get sick. Yeah? And then you have all sorts of crazy ideas going on in your mind. Okay? So don't think like that. You know? The whole idea of this is to see our teacher's good qualities, because seeing somebody's good qualities helps us. Okay? Before you take somebody as a teacher, that's the time when you really check them out and you look at all their faults. Yeah? And you look for their faults and, you really check them out. After you decide that they're one of your teachers, you don't start picking faults at them, because that's only going to get you really confused and make you have a lot of doubts about your practice. Okay, after somebody's become your teacher, then you try and see what they do in a good light, in a positive way. Okay, without letting your judgmental, critical mind go, yeah, why are they doing this? I don't understand why they do that. They should do things my way. They should do things what I want them to do it. They should pay more attention to me. They shouldn't pay more attention to that person I don't like over there. Why don't they have equanimity? Okay, so you don't want to get into that, because if you start thinking that kind of way about your spiritual mentor, then you're also going to think, well, why should I do anything they've taught me? And then you really get into trouble. Well, then why should I take refuge? Why should I practice bodhicitta? Why should I abandon the 8 worldly dharmas? This person's just all junk, so everything they've taught me is junk, so I don't need to practice the dharma. You could go down that road. And where's that going to get you? That's right. Quick ticket to the lower realms. Okay, do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Yeah? So, see, we're the ones who choose who our spiritual mentors are going to be. Usually we do things in the totally upside down way. We see a flyer. Oh, this great guru, this is your only chance to take initiation. Come one, come all for only $99.99 and get this initiation. And with no, reflection, no examination of the teacher, we rush in to take our initiation. Yeah. Take whatever vows there are without asking any questions, and then afterwards say, okay, now what did I do? And then when you hear, you go, ugh. And then when you start looking at the teacher, you go, ugh. And then your critical, judgmental mind just starts picking faults. Okay. So we go in with blind faith, make the relationship, and then pick faults. What we should do is before that we select that person as one of our teachers, we really check out their qualities. Yeah, and we make sure that we want to form that kind of relationship with them. Then when we form that relationship, we practice looking at their good qualities. Okay? Because then that helps our mind, because we've already discerned, oh, this person is somebody reliable, they know the teachings, I can trust them, so I'm going forward. I'm not going to sit there and go, yeah, I'm just going to listen and, and put into practice what I learned. Of course, if your teacher starts doing outrageous things and they're sleeping with all the students and embezzling money and beating people, then you say something, okay? But if it's not something like that, then you try and work with your mind so that you're not so critical and, digging yourself into a hole about the whole thing. And the thing is, how we relate to our teacher is how we relate to everybody else. Yeah? The same issues that we've had with other people in our life, our whole life, we bring right into our relationship with our teacher. And, we play out our whole trip that we've played out millions of times before with maybe not millions, but many times before in our life with other people. It's the you don't pay enough attention to me trip, or you're being authoritarian and bossing me around trip, or the, whatever our trip is, we all, do you know what I mean? Yeah, we play out these same emotional behavior patterns again. So we come in and we play it out with our spiritual teacher. But the thing is that now the stakes are higher. Because like I said, if we generate all that stuff towards our spiritual teacher, it's not harming our teacher, it's harming us. We're digging ourselves into a hole and threatening our own Dharma practice. Okay? So then when you realize this, you go, oh. And you go, oh, a second oh, like, oh, I've been playing this out with everybody else my whole life. And now I'm doing it with my teacher. And I think I need to finally come to terms with this emotional behavioral pattern. It's like the stakes are too high now. I can't continue to play out this same trip. I really have to work on my mind. And I have to get to the bottom of it and see, what is it that I'm really wanting here? Yeah, what is it I'm really needing? How can I meet some of those needs myself? Maybe some of my needs are completely unrealistic. Maybe people have already been doing things for me and I can't even see what they're doing, and I'm projecting negative things on them the whole time. And you really start working on your mind. Yeah, because you realize that, boy, I have to make this relationship with my spiritual teacher work. Because it's to my own benefit if it does, and my own disadvantage if it doesn't. So then you start really digging in and working on some of those very sticky, entrenched issues in your own mind. Okay? And the thing is, if you can work it out with your teacher, then you can see it so much easier when you start to project all that garbage on other people. And you realize, oh, that's my same old. Yeah, and I realize it's all my projected garbage now. And so you start taking that away from not only your teacher, but from everybody else. All your projected garbage, you start withdrawing it, and then all of a sudden you're so much happier than you were before. Because you're not sitting there, with projecting your garbage and all your nitpicking, Okay? So it's a very good way. And it takes time. And it can also be very difficult. Because it really makes us look at stuff that, we haven't wanted to look at before. Mm-hmm.
So in this case with Rinpoche, we, maybe some other people will see him more often, but I'm not imagining that I'm able to see him that often.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, well, it's sort of like, I feel like, the things that you're talking about, it really helps to have someone like yourself who I would see very many times and I can work on my mind and relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So at Rinpoche, I think it's going to have to be more formalized in the practice or something.
Yeah, right. They say that it's much easier to have a good relationship with a teacher you don't see so often. Yeah, because you visualize them in your practice and you're just doing them in your mind and you see them as Chenrezig and there's no contradictory evidence. The teachers you live with are the ones that are very difficult to practice with because they don't do what you want them to do.
But also, so on the other side of that, taking yourself, would it be useful to bring you as the guru into a practice?
In this, you would be thinking specifically of His Holiness, I think, because it's a Guru Yoga with His Holiness. Yeah. But, when you think of your teachers in general, you can think of all of your teachers. Yeah. Okay, you don't have to, it's not like, it's this teacher and not that teacher. Okay. Yeah?
So it's not just the tantric master?
When you're doing it, you usually do the tantric master, but in tantra they say to see all of your spiritual mentors as having the same essence. Okay? Yeah.
A root guru question.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it says, Mahayesha says in here how it's the one who brings you to the Dharma.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Who brings you to the Dharma. So that was His Holiness because you read, I had a pamphlet early on before I really started studying. I read it every Sunday, and so that really brought me to the Dharma in a really profound way.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as far as a teacher goes, after reading your material and coming here, or you're coming here, then you are my teacher. His Holiness is still my root.
Yeah. Okay, so the idea of root guru. So a root guru, sometimes, like they say, what you said, it's the person that really brings you to the Dharma. It could be sometimes it's the first person you hear teachings from. Sometimes it's not. It's, somebody down the line who, you've just really clicked with, and kind of the way they teach and how they guide, it's something that you really click with. So I think there can be some flexibility in who you see as your root guru. The idea of a root guru, well, it's interesting. First of all, in Tantra, according to who gives you the initiation, you'll have a root guru for each practice. So the term is, it's kind of ambiguous. Often a root guru is the one who, sometimes you say it's the person who first really turns you on to the Dharma. Sometimes you can see it as the person who gives you the more specific guidance in your life about, your specific practice. It can vary. It can really vary about who you choose. Yeah.
But then about the lineage.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it the oldest living person in the lineage? See, I get this really question, like I start seeing it in familial lines, through the lineage.
Yeah. But if so what's your question? Oh, no, you do. Yeah, no, the idea of the lineage is that the teachings originated with the Buddha and they get passed down through a lineage of practitioners, so they come to you and they're fresh. They're not some old thing that's just available in a book. That's the idea. Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
What happens when the teacher you consider your root guru passes?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, in terms of when you're doing practices like this, doesn't matter they're still alive or not alive. Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Because
Teaching. Ricochet says, if your guru is still alive, so this way, but if your guru is passed,
right.
the other way.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Dissolving to light is still alive.
Right.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But don't get too confused about all this guru stuff, because just take it slowly. Yeah, the most important thing is that you kind of practice and work on your mind here. Okay? Okay, then both practices go into the 7 limbs. So in the red book, we have the short 7 limbs. In the yellow pages, we have a longer version of the 7 limbs. Okay, so they're the same 7 limbs. We should try and think deeply about them. Just because you do the short one, actually, when they say when you do the short version of different things, you have to pay more attention because there's fewer words, and so you have to generate that thought or feeling, more quickly. In the longer one, there's more words that kind of lead you along to generating that. Okay, but the first is bowing or prostrating. So with our body, speech, and mind, so with the physical prostration, if you can't do it physically, then at least put your hands together. But if you can bow physically, do it, because you're missing the opportunity to create merit if you don't bow physically when you're able to do it. Okay? If you don't feel comfortable bowing for one reason or another, that's something else. But if you can, then bow. If you can't, put your hands together. Mentally or verbally is by saying the words of the verse, and mentally is by imagining bowing and really having a mind of faith while you're doing it. Okay? Okay, so the speech is also, saying the qualities, reciting the qualities of who you're bowing to. So that is, the 7 limbs are for purification and accumulation of merit, which are 2 things we really need to do in order to get realizations. It's like before you grow a crop, in a field, you have to take out all the stones and, polluted stuff and everything, and you have to put in water and fertilizer, and then you plant the seeds, and then something's going to grow. So same way in our mind, we need to take out the rubbish, and we need to fertilize our mind with good thoughts, good ideas. Okay? So bowing helps us to purify our arrogance, and helps us to generate respect for those worthy of respect. And generating respect is something that is quite important in our lives in general and in spiritual practice in particular, because if we can't see the good qualities of others and respect those qualities, how are we going to develop those qualities in ourselves? If we always go around saying, I'm the best of all, I know everything, I'm this, I'm that, then how are we going to learn from anybody? And this is, I think something that's particularly challenging in the West, where we're brought up to sing our own praises and toot our own horn and, on job applications make ourselves seem like we're almost Buddhas. We can do, I can do everything. And if I can't do it so well, but I'm the best learner and you should really hire me. And, we have humility is not a quality that we're encouraged to cultivate. We're encouraged to cultivate, look at me, I'm the best, I'm the most gorgeous, I'm the most athletic, I'm the most talented, I'm this, I'm that. And that mentality, creates this false sense of self, and it really digs us into a hole because we're putting on this front that we know is not true. So there's disharmony between how we're portraying ourselves to the world and how we see ourselves. And we get really stuck with that. Okay. So that doesn't mean that we go around telling everybody all of our faults. Yeah, it doesn't mean you go into a job interview and say, I can't do this, and I'm terrible at that, and I blow this. It just means that, yes, you recognize your talents. In circumstances where you need to speak about them, you do. But you don't make a big deal out of yourself. Yeah, there's some kind of humility and respect for other living beings. And I was thinking a little bit about the current Pope, how he isn't living in the big sumptuous, place where all the previous popes lived, but he's living in a small kind of little villa. And he's beginning to change some policies. And, he just said something about, like, all these bishops are making too big of a deal about abortion and gay marriage and stuff, kind of saying to these guys, chill out a little bit, and saying that the church is for everybody, not just for an elite few. So he has some kind of humility, and that humility is something that's going to attract people. Yeah. And I think, we usually think, oh, if I'm humble, then people are going to skip over me, they're going to not notice me. Humility is different than low self-esteem. Okay, repeat. Humility is different than low self-esteem. Repeat again. Humility is different than low self-esteem. Okay? What? Yes, you should definitely write that down in big letters. Because I think we can have humility when we have self-confidence. When we really believe in ourselves and can see our qualities and have dedicated our qualities for the benefit of all living beings, then we don't get puffed up about my good qualities because we've dedicated them for the welfare of everybody. And then we don't need to go around, proclaiming our good qualities to the world, because the idea is if we have those qualities and we act with those good qualities, people will see it. Yeah, the incarnation of my teacher, Serkam Rinpoche, when he was very young, we were talking about this, and he said, if I'm a good cook, I don't need to go around telling people I'm a good cook. If I cook a meal, they'll know I'm a good cook. So it's the same thing, if we have qualities, if we use them, to benefit others, we show them to others, they see those. We don't need to go around proclaiming ourselves to everybody. Look at me, I'm the star. I've just won, the Oscar and the Emmy and the whatever all these stupid things are. Excuse me. Dare I criticize Hollywood? Oh. But if you have good qualities, people will see them. Yeah. And you don't need to cover them up, but you don't need to go around bragging about them either. Yeah. And, the people who kind of go around bragging and making a big deal about themselves, often they get noticed, but sometimes when they can't do what they've been proclaiming they can do, then it's a little bit humiliating for them. Okay? So I think, when you really have confidence, you just are who you are. You use your qualities to benefit others. People who have eyes will see. People who don't see, it's okay, because the important thing is that you just use your qualities to benefit others. It's, you're not looking for the praise and the recognition. Yeah? And so it's just much simpler that way. Mm-hmm.
I recently went through the job hiring process and writing a resume and a cover letter and everything. And I had someone look over my cover letter, and she suggested, it was sort of difficult to put on, I'm a great guy, I can do the job, blah, blah, blah. But she said one thing that you should put in your cover letter is to be motivated.
Yes.
And it never occurred to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my story.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a big difference, isn't it? Yeah. Would you rather hire somebody who's motivated or somebody who's going to come into the office with their nose in the sky? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then I cannot go to interviews anymore because I'm not interested in Java or .NET or anything. I'm interested in Buddhism. If they ask me, what do you see yourself in 5 years? I cannot say I want to become a nun.
Well, if you want to become a nun in 5 years, you should start now. Yes, and don't bother with the job interview.
It sounds like a job interview, right?
Yeah.
I still have attachments.
That's okay.
That I need to resolve.
Yeah. Yeah, so you need to resolve stuff, sure. But, I mean, I don't know how you want to present yourself at a job interview. And they say, where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? Yeah, my brother asked me that some years ago, and I said, I want to be a kinder, more compassionate person. And he looked at me like, And then it was so funny. He said, don't you want to have your own center in your own place and have people come to you? And I said, no. And then look what happened. Yeah?
So that was what I was thinking, was that my experience is that people who are capable are rare enough that other people who need their capabilities will say, will just go there and say, I need you. You don't have to blow your own horn. You really don't. Because, you've experienced it yourself. You've seen people come through here, offering you all kinds of stuff, and then they just kind of say the universe, and every once in a while somebody comes in here and they say, oh, well, I could kind of do this or that. And you go, really? Well, then do X, Y, Z, and they do a great job, and, that's all it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, very much. Okay. And then second one is making offerings. So here we offer things, not only the actual offerings, but we imagine offerings, we visualize offerings. When it talks about Samantabhadra's offerings, Samantabhadra is one bodhisattva, and the way he made offerings is there would be one object, and then he would imagine from that one object 7 more things of it coming out, and then from each of those 7 more, and from each of those 7 more. So you get 7 to the umpteenth power, the whole sky full of offerings. So that's what it means by Samantabhadra offerings. So you really think of everything as just being incredibly beautiful, very pure, so that whatever you offer doesn't generate attachment. Yeah, it generates bliss and contentment, but not attachment. And you imagine things being even better than they are now. I mean, yeah, there's fruit with no pits, no peels, and no pesticides, and that's what you offer. You may offer, something here, but you imagine it as something very pure, that when somebody eats it, they just experience great bliss. And you offer this to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and plate after plate, and mountains of them, and they don't get rotten and old and or have worms in the middle of them. And also, some people like offering beautiful things like flowers and fruits and water and scents and stuff like that. Personally speaking, what I find more helpful is to offer the things I'm very attached to. Okay? So to really think of, what I am craving. Yeah, and especially if there's people that I have a lot of attachment for, that I'm clinging to, I offer them, as a way of diminishing my attachment and thinking, boy, this person would actually, rather than this person living under my clinging and my expectations, they would be so much happier if the Buddha were taking care of them. So I offer these people I'm attached to the Buddha. I let the Buddha guide them and take care of them. And I release my attachment because I don't own these people. Yeah? So I do it with people, you can do it with possessions, you can do it with places, you can do it with ideas. Something where you're really holding tight, you just completely in your heart give that person or object or idea, whatever it is, the position that you want to have or the recognition you want to have, you give the whole kit and caboodle to the Buddha. And then it's like, oh, it doesn't belong to me anymore. I don't need to crave it. I don't need to cling to it. Yeah, it's in the Buddha's care. I can relax. It's quite nice, actually. Yeah, and when you do the inner offering, we often do that with the mandala offering. Then you even imagine offering your body to Chenrezig. Yeah, we'll get into that later, but you just take your body apart, offer your whole body. It's very good. Then it stops, a lot of the attachment to our body. You can also offer things that don't belong to anybody, or things that, in ancient times they called them things that are unowned. Now somebody owns everything. Yeah, but it could be things that don't belong to you. Like the trees or the national forests. They're owned by everybody, or the beaches, or anything you consider beautiful. It doesn't have to be something you own or possess. Okay, and again, this purifies our miserliness, our stinginess, and it helps us create delight in giving. And taking delight in giving is very important, because giving is the first practice that the Buddha teaches people to do, is generosity. Yeah, because generosity is something that even worldly people appreciate. And people of every religion appreciate. If somebody is generous, everybody appreciates that person's generosity. Yeah. There's one story that I really can resonate with, because I have problems with generosity. It is the time of the Buddha. There was one old lady who had difficulty being generous. So the Buddha had her hold a carrot and practice giving the carrot from one hand to the other hand. Okay? So I can resonate with that, if you're somebody like me, you get attached to every small thing, and it's like, oh, somebody gave me this. Yeah, I don't want to give it away. Now it belongs to me. I can have it. I can enjoy it. Then, practice giving it to the other hand, and eventually you give it to another hand that doesn't have to be attached to your own body. But you've gotten used to the thing of it, passing it. And it's not mine, and it's yours. Yeah.
So there's no limitation, you can give everything. So like also in the Dharma context, when you're attached to the practice of being a monastic or...
Yeah, with monastics, they say you can give everything but not your 3 robes. Okay, you don't give your 3 robes. So, and in terms of giving your body, there's certain situations where you give and certain situations where you don't give. As with everything, it doesn't mean that you have idiot compassion. Yeah, it doesn't mean that there's, some guy who's clearly drunk and asks you for money that you give him a $5 bill. That's not generosity. That's not too smart. Give him food. Yeah? He needs food. He doesn't need money to buy booze. Or give him a smile. Give him some respect as a human being. Yeah? And I bet if you gave him some clean underwear, he'd really appreciate it. No, seriously, because if you're homeless, that's the one thing. It's clean underwear and clean socks. That's the thing that's really needed. So, be sensitive to the situation. We have to give wisely, and at the right time, to the right people, in the right way. It's not just random, chaotic. Oh, I happen to have some uranium. I think I'll give it to Al Qaeda. That's not the practice of generosity. Okay.
People just check.
Mm-hmm.
But you can offer your robes to the Buddha in your mind. Yes or no? If you're making offerings.
You don't. As a monastic, you need your robes. You can mentally offer a second set of robes to a fellow monastic. Okay, but I don't know mentally offering. You can offer everything to the Buddha, even your body. So I don't think that's such a big deal. But you don't. Yeah.
Often practice isn't giving up your practice.
Right. Right. Yeah. When they say that the offering our practice is the best offering, it doesn't mean like, okay, now I'm going to give my practice to you so I don't have to do it anymore. Yeah. It's actually, the offering of practice is you imagine, like in Lama Chopa, this beautiful environment, and all the things in the environment are representing and symbolizing different aspects of your practice, and you offer that. Yeah. Or just mentally in your head, you offer your practice to your teacher. And again, you don't have to go and say, I just offered you my practice. So-and-so was really mean to me, and I didn't yell at them, and I'm offering that to you. Aren't you proud of me? You offer your practice in your mind. Okay.
Inner?
Huh?
Is this part of inner offering?
No, it's offering of practice is a separate offering. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to stop for now. We'll continue later.